Okay, so I went all electric on this plane. Here's my wiring diagram. I ran the batteries in parallel. So I had to connect the battery from this boom to that boom. And then since I was adding 40 inches of wire this way and 40 inches of wire that way, I had to add in a capacitor pack. I got it on eBay, just called it a 3 to 6S 3-pack capacitor pack. My motor, Eco 4130C, V2, 470 kV. Peak power on this plane, it was about 1450 when I put it on the bench.
Be sure to put the ESCs directly behind the prop so that they get air to cool off.
Like I said, counter rotating props. I was running 16 by 10 master air screw, and you need one reverse pusher and one normal tractor. I ran my pack. I'm running 5S 5000 milliamp batteries. I have two multi-function control box. One is for the servos, control surface servos, and another one is just for my mains. One beck is cut off. I'm not powering anything with the beck and my left boom, and the ESC in my right boom. That beck is powering my retracts. So my retracts and my steering, my servo. I have a receiver pack. The receiver pack is powering all my control surfaces, not my retracts. Retracts are powered by the main batteries. All my control surfaces are powered by this receiver pack. It's a 3000 milliamp life battery. I'm running a AR820T Spectrum receiver with a remote receiver up in the front, so I don't lose a signal. I didn't run safe. I didn't run AS3X, and my throttles, I ran into a Y into my receiver here.
All my servos are in for my ailerons and my flaps. The flap servos look just like this. Really easy and straightforward to put in. The reason why I went with the the HS77BB is because I did a little bit of research, and some people were putting those in because they're a little bit stronger. But they look just like this on this other side. So there's 4 flaps in this P-38.
I just finished my parallel wiring harness from the P-38. I'm running 5S batteries in parallel. Here's my wiring diagram. I planned this all out before I started doing all my, or cutting wires and soldering and all that. And so here's my batteries and my booms. And I'm just connecting black wires to black wires, red wires to red wires, and then branching them off to my ESCs, okay? So my ESCs are gonna have battery power
from one battery system. So it's going to be, these are 5,000 milliamp batteries, so it's going to be a total capacity of 10,000. I didn't want one motor to draw just from a single battery, just in case there was a difference in how fast the propeller is spinning due to a voltage difference between the two motors. So I got all my wires cut, soldered. I got my EC5 connectors on, and so I'm just going to make sure that I'm running near 18.5 volts for my battery. So I'm getting 19.38 or 19.39 volts on this side, and then on this side, this is where the EC or the ESC is going to connect. On this side, 19.38, 19.39. So I know the batteries are running in parallel. I check to make sure everything's not warm. Just double checking to make sure everything's right before I put it into the plane. All right, well, I gotta take off these male connectors and replace them with something a little bigger to get the setup to work, because the gauge on the ESC that I bought, they're the 100 amp Phoenix Edge ESC, had 10 gauge wire on it, and so I had to replace the connectors, and I went ahead and went with the Castle Creation bullet connectors. They're 5.5 millimeter. And I'm just gonna have to replace this wire, the connectors on the motor itself. Okay, got this thing all set up on the test stand. I got my 3D printed prop spinners fitted on around the 16 by 10 propellers, and I'm gonna do a test run.
more thing I could do, because I had to take these props off and balance them, is gun the throttle and see if anything's gonna happen here. Oh yeah. There's not that much clear. It's a 16 by 10. Props on there. It's pretty close to the ground. My goodness. I think I need to watch it. I actually had to raise the wheel. I used some blocks and I raised the wheel, or lowered the wheel down a full centimeter. This is a stock retract, and it sits pretty high up in there, so the nose is down a little bit more. Okay, working on my Nexa P-38. I've been procrastinating a bit. I finally got the main gear doors on. They're hinged, glued in, and I didn't want to put a servo in there to open and close them. I just went ahead and went with the spring option. The reason being is because it's kind of a hassle to put a servo in there. You got to cut the boom, and then you got to deal with some wiring. It could be done. You also have to deal with the linkage and how to set that up properly. I've done it before, but I just don't want to deal with the hassle. The manual originally it calls for a spring anyways. It calls for 2 springs and a string, but I just went ahead and went to the hardware store and got 1 spring and a couple of hinges from Amazon. The hinges were disassembled, and I used this half of the hinge. The spring, it works by tension. It opens and closes when the retract pulls on it. Okay, so it pushes on it to close, and when it comes up, the spring tension and the spring itself will open it. So here we go. So I gotta do a little bit of sanding on the front, on the cover there, and then some painting. But I had to do some fiberglass work. That was pretty fun. I've never done that. I was gonna go with some bigger wheels in the back, but some 3.5-inch Dubro smooth, but it didn't work out. I'd have to cut in there. I didn't want to cut, but I did put a little bit bigger tire up in the front. Springs on the main gear doors, and I still went with the retract in the front door, or a servo in the front with a little Spectrum sub-micro digital servo up in the front, because the original one burned up. About a cheapy Amazon one. I'm glad that happened on the ground versus in there. Got full flaps, landing gear down. There we go. Alright, let's see something here. Let's watch this thing climb.
cutting it to quarter, letting the speed bleed. All right. She's a keeper. And she's back after a hard crash landing. She has a heartbeat again. The last time I had this plane up, I started to lose power a lot earlier in the flight than I anticipated, and I suspected that it was the ESCs were getting hot, so I lost power and had to crash land the plane and bust the wing up, but I fixed the problem. I moved the ESCs directly behind the prop.